Today we're gonna build Voima from frame up. So we have the order here, and looks like with Kitsuma coil, chain guide, bash guard, slider. So we're gonna build this frame from here to where you have the motor, all the accessories, the battery mounts, and the headset cups. So let's get into it. So it's been CNC'd, bonded, CNC'd, surface treated, and there's so little hand treatment afterwards. So basically the only thing we do by hand to this point is take a little bit of glue here because this CNC machine can't get to these areas. There's so much automation here, and even the frame numbers and everything are engraved here. Oh, of course, yeah, we have the stickers, so the frame protection wrap is done by hand, of course, and yeah, the assembly is done by hand. Yeah, let's get into it. This is the build. We're gonna put the axles in. Okay, then we'll do the swing arm. So we're gonna press links here, and then we're gonna put the derailleur hanger there. First we're gonna put the derailleur hanger. There we go. Then we have the links. So we're gonna put in the bearings. So we have this cool system. The first one, and we do this second one, and that's it. Okay, these links are hollow. Both of them. These are actually identical. So the lower link is the same on both sides. The upper link, of course, it has the shock mount, and it's hollow. The one cool thing about it is that we don't need any axles. The axles are monocoque to the swing arm, and also we don't need any washers. There's no washers anywhere, so these bearings are pressed in together. There's no washer, here's no washer. We just need the links and the bolt. So let's start with the links. So let's put these on. So we just press them in a little bit by hand, like so. Then the second one, the non-drive side, like that. Then we have the lower links. There's grease on the bearings by stock, so if you're doing this you need to apply some grease, and here we don't. And then we'll secure them to the bottom by tapping them slightly with a tool. You don't need this tool when you're doing it on your own, so you just use the screws, but these are the on the factory tolerance, so it's a little bit tight. Okay, so then we'll put the bolts. Here we go. To the bolts we apply some grease.
What type of grease are you using there?
This is the gray blue, again, Park tool, HPG-I or 1, I don't know which one it is. Here we go. We thread them in a little bit. You don't need a thread lock with these bolts. They're really a fine thread, and there's a long thread, so they're not coming off when you ride. I have never had any play with these links. Put them to right torque setting. And there we go. We have the swing arm. So now we'll get the frame. So first we're gonna put the power plug here. This is the power plug. Then we'll apply some grease to the axles so they slide in nicely. Just a tiny bit. No need for excess. Then we'll put the swing arm to the bore. Give a gentle tap. And then the other side. Same thing. Gentle tap, and then we'll go to the next phase. Then we're gonna press in the swing arm. So you don't need these tools if you're building your swing arm or whatever. This is how we do it in the factory. We wanna be quick, and when it's new, it's a little bit tighter. Pretty straightforward. We just put bolts through. So these links, they thread in with their own bolts. So now we're going to put the actual hardware that connects the swing arm. So how this works is these are holding the links in, and this is for extraction use. So when you want to remove these, it's a similar system as in your crank. So you unthread this and it pushes the link out. So it's easy to maintain the bearings. For example, if you need to change the main bearings, you just extract these, kick the axle out, change the bearing, push it in, and continue. Apply grease, the thread, and do the flange, and then we'll thread it a little bit. And we take the next one. We put grease to the flange and the thread. And then we thread it a little bit. Then we're going to screw it in. Then make sure it's in the right torque setting. And then we're going to put this. So this is the opposite thread. You don't need to remove this ever from your bike. We have a little grease, we put it in. Now I'm rotating this to the counterclockwise. The next one, again counterclockwise. That. Then we'll make sure these are tight. Okay, and next we'll do the yokes for the shock. So then we'll do the yoke bearings into the yokes. One thing about all the bearings that we have, you can find these any bearing store. We're using Enduro Max bearings as production. So let's get into it. So shock mount yokes. Here we go, we have that. So all these parts are CNC machined. So let's call them machined. So there's bolts and other stuff. They're also machined. So either turned or used 5-axis or milling machine with turning capabilities and all that. So there's different kind of machines that we can use to make all the parts. These are 5-axis CNC machines. So these yokes are going into the shock. So the cool thing about this system is that when we have the shock turned 90 degrees and when we have the yokes, the shock can move in all directions. So if there's going to be lateral load on the frame, the shock can move slightly, so there's no extra stress to the shock. If it would be this way and connected like rigid, then all the frame flex this way would affect the shock. So now when we have these yokes, they act like spherical bearings basically. So you have the movement this direction and then this direction. To the hardware, then we'll connect the yoke, then we'll put the axle, and then we have the other yoke, so we'll put the washers, then we'll turn it around, and so we're going to use this grease on titanium parts, Park Tool ASC-I or 1, I don't know which one it is, just to prevent seizing. So then we'll connect the shock to the frame. Okay, so then we'll screw it in. Then we'll check the torque. And now the frame is ready for the motor. So now we're putting all the accessories to the frame. So we route the brake cable, put the motor in, the battery brackets, slider, bash guard, chain guide, whatever customer have ordered. So we start with the brake. We have internal cable routing. It's quite straightforward and easy. The grommets are easy to put in, so you can see where the cable comes out. You put that end in first, like this, and then you press it in. So that's pretty straightforward. And then we just continue. You can do all the cables with the motor on. We'll just do an assembly this way because it's so much easier to route them before you put the motor in. And we have a motor style brake, so that means that this guy will be exiting this way. We're not going to push in this grommet because there's going to be the controller. The controller will be as well here. It's going to stay there. Okay, that's the first phase. Then we'll go to the battery mount. First battery mount. Battery mount, and then we have the power cable. Connect the power cable. These are pre-assembled. So there's a slot where this slides in. So just push it in and slide it. And that's it. We're gonna screw this in. Then we're gonna put in the motor. And we connect the motor there, so, and then HMI cable. So this is a human interface, so the controller cable. So we're just putting these, everything before we close. So then we have the motor cover, which allows us to install it from the side. Most of the Bosch motors are mounted from downwards, and then they have some kind of a bash guard. But now the frame itself works as a bash guard. This is just a bracket to hold the motor in. So we install it here. It goes nice and snug. This is also CNC machined. I don't recommend using power tools at home. We have a special power tool for this, which has electric torque meter. But yeah, we thread it in with 8 bolts on this side, and the other side has 4 bolts. I'm not putting them in in torque yet. I'm just threading in the bolts. So there's a hook right over there which hooks to this cooling fin, and we just put it in. And it only has 2 bolts that screws in. Not very tight, just remember this is plastic cover, nothing else. Okay, the motor is good on this side, so then we'll go to the other side. Here it screws in with 4 bolts. Again, I don't recommend using power tools at home if you're doing this, or I recommend using a specialist always to take care of your motor. Now we're going to do the accessories before we put the chainring on. So here we have chain guard, bash guard, slider. So we're going to start with the bash guard, which is here. Protects your chain ring mainly. This is the main job. So then we have the chain guide here. And then we're going to put the chain ring. O-ring. And the lock ring. Remember, this is also left hand screws in left hand by left hand like this. We're not going to do it this phase all the way because we want to turn, set up the chain guide. It's good. And then we have a turn. We use a crank on the other side, crank arm. And then we put the slider. PE slider, which is polyethylene. What is it cool about is that this slider, you can bend it and it doesn't break. It slides very well, so it helps with rocks, and especially on bedrock, for example, if you are riding in harsh environments. Protects the frame nicely. So this is a water hole, so water goes out from that hole, so that's the sole purpose. The top hole here on this side is mounting for this. These are the same bolts that we use on water bottle mount cage. So now we just bend the guard. Okay, now we have that side set up. Then we'll put the lock in place. We're using the ABUS locks, so you have a code that you can make other locks with the same code as well, so one key can work on different places. So you can use this key to something else as well, at home, or maybe bike lock, if you need to lock your Voima. It slides into a slot, you slide it in. And then we'll screw it in. Put the end plastic to the keyhole, and put the key to the frame. Then we lower it back and then check that everything is in. So we have Kitsuma coil 450. Yeah. And then chain guide check, bash guard check, slider check, headset. Yeah, we need to put the headset. Motor brakes, AXS, bike yoke. Yeah. Okay. So the headset will be assembled on the next phase where they bleed the brakes and all. So this is how you build a Voima frame. So after this, it's more about components. But this is how you put the shock, motor, route the cables, etc. Everything else is normal bike building. Put the headset, fork, seat post, all that. One thing what we don't do at this phase is to put the seat post cable. That we'll do on the next phase. Okay, thanks for watching. Oh!